Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm speaking with David Arkenstone. He has a fantastic new record out. It is called Quest for the Runestone, and I'm very excited to talk to him all about it. David, I really want to thank you so much for being here the morning after a holiday. How's it going? How's life?
It's beautiful. Thank you, Austin, for having me. It's all good. Great weather out here where I live in California, and I'm excited about this new recording. So it's
You should
great.
be thrilled about this new recording. I just, I want to start this off by kind of blowing up your ego a little bit. It is not often that I listen to a record and it puts me back in my seat. Um, I'm very serious. Truly, like, I go into these listenings not really knowing what to expect. I try not to read about it, but you blew me away here. I mean, this thing is from front to back. It's a journey as much as it's like a standard composition, but there's just so many beautiful little subtleties, and it's really just original and fresh sounding. The first thing I want to kind of know about is like, how do you even begin to make something like this?
That's very sweet words you just said. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
It did take a lot of work, but
Yeah.
it started when I saw a piece on the BBC about runestones in Scandinavia, which are
Okay.
these big stone blocks that Viking age people have carved stories into, kind of little histories. And I thought, wow, that could make a really cool story for an
Yeah.
album for me because I've done fantasy themed albums before, and it's really in my wheelhouse, as they say. And then I started writing about just some general pieces, and then I asked my son to write a story. He's a writer, and
Okay.
he enjoys the fantasy genre, although I don't think he's ever written anything like he did for this. And he
Sure.
wrote a beautiful short story, and it was immediately inspirational to me. So I went through it, and it was kind of like scoring a movie or
Oh, yeah.
scoring a book, scoring a booklet. But there were so many visual aspects to the story that I immediately had 12, 15 pieces that I knew I wanted to do.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, it was
Um,
cool.
I would say an overwhelming majority of the people I get to talk to are, they're putting out your standard rock record or pop
Mhm.
record or something R&B based.
Yeah,
I don't really get to talk to composers as much as I do, like, I call them standard artists.
right.
And I feel as though maybe your brain works in a little bit different ways because as far as the influences go, yeah, I listened to this rock album last year and I pulled some influences from it and we put out something original. But
Yeah.
this is so like cinematic. It
Hmm.
just like, how does it work in your head trying to put something to get like, there's just so much going on and there's such like endless creativity. Where does it come from?
It comes from a lot of love of cinema, movies that I grew up with, books that I've read, classical artists that I enjoy that have,
Mhm.
throughout time, classical music composers have illustrated either Shakespeare or, of course, there's opera
Yeah.
that's all about story. So all that just sort of churns around, and then I end up making music. And this is not an arrogant anything. I just
No,
try to make music that I would like to listen to. And
yeah,
I don't know where else to start with that. Because if I
sure.
don't like it, I don't think many people are going to like it. So
I
so
understand that.
I have to be comfortable with it. And I particularly like to take journeys with my music, even if it's just
Oh,
one
yeah,
song. But this was a whole thing, it was a whole deep dive sort of thing, a whole
absolutely.
story.
No,
And
really, like, it runs about an hour flat.
Mhm.
And like I said, it really does kind of take you out of the real world and transports you to this place that I didn't know that I was going to go, but I ended up there.
Yeah.
And there's really, like I said, I'm going to say it again. There's really just so much going on, and it's such a breath of fresh air. I love movies, I love films, especially as a lover of music. I'm always listening to the score and
Yep.
trying to, get into the head of the composer. And This obviously just is, it's on another level of the past, the present, and the future, and modern in terms of composition. It's just truly
Mhm.
like, and I don't use this word lightly, but mind blowing to know that one person was kind of behind this. Um,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
that is so sweet. And I like Celtic music. I like music
sure,
from Norway. All these, they have these stringed instruments that are up there that sort of sound primitive and
yeah.
uh and then after I had the music sort of sketched out, then I knew who I have some friends and colleagues that I knew would I had to have them play on this record.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so that's another thing is, reading the bio on this, there's obviously such a wide variety of instruments used. And in my opinion, instruments used that aren't normally used. So I mean, first off, how do you learn to play these things? How do you learn about them? And then how do you feel that they incorporate into the album as a whole?
Well, you can do a little research about instruments. Like I've never used the hurdy-gurdy before on a record,
Sure.
which is a an instrument that has a crank on it that basically vibrates a string, like a
Yeah.
violin if it had endless bowing, kind of
Right.
like that. So you get this drony kind of sound, but you can also play notes on it. And
Okay.
I found a guy who could do that really well.
How
And
do you find a guy? How do you find a
I
guy that can do
found
that?
this guy. I found this guy through somebody I wanted to make me a hurdy-gurdy, and I thought, okay,
Oh,
maybe I should learn how to play hurdy-gurdy, like for this record. And
yeah,
that was
yeah.
a ridiculous idea
Sure.
because I didn't have time to do that. Although I do still want to learn it,
Sure.
um, maybe for part two. But
There you go.
uh, he's just a master at it. He plays a lot of early music.
Mhm.
It's a very old instrument, and uh, it added a sound that I didn't have. And then I know of incredible violinist named Luann Holmesy, and she plays any kind of style you can imagine. And she
Wow.
resonates really with the music that I write. And she played the Hardinger fiddle on several tunes, which is a instrument from Norway, which
Okay.
has the regular violin four strings. And then underneath those, which you don't touch, you tune them, but you don't touch them, are sympathetic strings that vibrate when you play certain notes, like if you held the
Oh,
pedal down on a piano,
yeah,
sort of.
yeah.
And so they're vibrating all the time. So they give this sound that's, I don't know even how to describe it, but that plus the
No,
hurdy.
it's really, yeah, it's in its own world of sound.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's nice because yes, I'm a modern composer, but when you use these sounds combined with other things, and I used a lot of voices, and it's kind of a signature, for
sure.
me, I guess.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. Um, in terms of the actual blueprints of these songs, again, each song feels like its own chapter, it feels like its own world. um how does it begin on your end? Does it all start up in your head where you're kind of like playing it through, or is it trial and error of actually playing these instruments?
It's probably a combination of both those things. I have every instrument I could ever want in my
Sure.
computer. I mean, it's just the way
Right.
technology is, and a lot of the sounds are very, very good. Uh,
Hmm.
and a lot of them end up on the recording. But then some, like what I said with the story, it wasn't so hard to figure out the sequence of things. I had already written the song called Prophecy because I knew I wanted that to be the lead off track and set the mood for the album.
Sure.
Um, but I kind of went along just experimenting with sound, whether I got my guitar out, whether I started with a drum track, playing I got every drum I own out to play
Yeah, of
songs
course.
because I love to do that.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of stringed instruments, and I tuned them all and just to see what would happen. And then I combined
Mhm.
them with all these other artists who brought their musical soul to my piece because you can hire somebody and then they bring their entire history to the
Yeah.
notes that they play. You can write the notes out.
Hmm.
That's one thing, you know. Somebody gets that under their fingers who can really
Sure.
communicate through their instrument. It's incredible. So all these people just really brought it, and especially Eric Rigler, who plays the uilleann pipes, very famous piper, and it's just when you hear those things, it just takes you somewhere to the hills of Ireland or something.
100%, man.
Yeah,
It's
just
just
evocative and and not usual.
right, not usual, but beautiful beyond like I can even, describe.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yeah.
Does it come down to like creating demos and then using those demos to as a jumping off point?
Yeah, I kind of make a I start with sound, and what's now become important to me when I make a record is establishing a palette, like a painter
Mhm.
would do. Like, okay,
Sure.
I know there's not going to be any saxophone on this record,
Yeah,
like for sure, and stuff like that. So you kind of try to narrow it down. I like strings, I like stringed instruments, and I like drums. So, and I like choir, not necessarily pop singing, but I like choir. So that's a lot to work with, actually, just what I just said. But then when you add other little things and maybe there's a synth in here once in a while,
yeah,
it just blends with the whatever sound it's with. It's not really on its own.
sure.
Um, so when I have my palette, then I know, okay, I'm gonna write this, and then I'm gonna start with this, and a couple of songs start kind of with vocals in a way.
Mhm.
And I just follow my own journey. I mean, I can't even
Yeah.
explain how it goes. It's
Yeah,
like,
no, and you don't need to because I know that a lot of it like cannot be put into words. It's maybe
yeah,
more of a feeling.
it's like looking at a painting too.
Of
And then when I
course.
sit at my computer and I'm making in my keyboard and I make sounds, and then all of a sudden two or three sounds kind of go together to make this cool.
Yeah,
Then I pursue that for X amount of minutes, and then I usually find myself wanting to make a left turn in the song. And
sure.
so I'll do that. It's something related, but then it'll
Yeah.
come back. And then pretty soon I have a 4 or 5 minute song and just the skeleton of it.
Sure.
And then I'll just start piling stuff on. And I've also gotten better at knowing when to stop piling, because these
Very
days
important.
I could still be piling onto this record. I
Oh,
mean, totally.
well, that's yeah, and I talk about this a lot. Like, we're obviously very much in the future of production. You can do anything, you can add anything. I feel any artist has a baseline level of perfectionism. Like, you
Mhm.
hear it in your head, you want to get it out there. But sometimes spending a year on a song is excessive. And you kind of know you need to know when to pull it back, when to say it's finished, and save some other ideas for other songs.
For sure. And I think spending a year on a classical piece or something could be saying something. But if I spend a year on a piece, I think that piece is not worth spending a year on. For
Right.
me, it's
Yeah,
like I don't have the germ of something that I can really relate to and connect a beginning and a middle and an end to. I
sure.
feel like it's maybe not the right piece
Yeah,
for this project.
absolutely. Um, you're a Grammy nominated artist, which is incredible. And this is not your first album, not even close to it. Do you ever feel the pressure to like not necessarily outdo yourself, but to just continue to shift what you've done in the past to like get the notoriety?
No, I can't say I do that. I mean,
Nice.
I've been nominated 5 times, and every time it's been a little bit of a surprise, like
Yeah,
which is great because chasing it, which I've done a couple times. I wouldn't say chasing it, but trying a sort of campaign.
sure.
Uh, it hasn't been fruitful, and so I don't think it's about that. I
Hmm.
I feel like it should be about the music,
Of
but now there's
course.
a lot of campaigning going on with artists. I mean, it's ton of stuff, and I can't I can't do it for that. I have great
Hmm.
fans. We had a listening party on Bandcamp, and they were just like, glowing about this recording, and it's
Awesome.
so satisfying to me because you sit for months, because it's very solitary unless I'm
Yeah.
unless I'm recording an instrument or I'm at the studio with people. It's very solitary kind of work. uh,
Hmm.
and so it's gratifying to let it, release it, which that
Yeah,
word
of course.
word means a lot when you put out this
Yeah,
thing that you've spent months on, at least months, and to find that it resonates with people. That's all I really do it for.
I
It's
love that.
it's great if peers love it and think it should be awarded something. I've gotten other awards, but I don't think about that when I'm making music at all.
Nice.
Can't do that.
No, extremely humble answer, and that's what I was hoping for,
Yeah,
truly. Because
yeah,
obviously there's a lot of people out there that are chasing awards and trying to get the accolades and this and
yeah.
that. And you know what? That kind of beats the purpose of making the music if you're doing it for someone else. And you already mentioned you're making it for you. You're making music that you want to listen to,
Yeah.
and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Luckily, a lot of people like what I do. And so
yeah,
when
of course,
when I end up making music that I
sure,
listen to, I have a good chance that they're gonna like it. So,
good.
you know,
Um,
helpful.
when I listen to this, there's a seemingly infinite amount of genres that present themselves. You really touch on so many different sounds and styles and this and that to where it becomes its own thing. How are you how are you pitching this? What are you calling it for, that people might want to know?
That is so difficult. I somebody put some put some labels on me that I think I can relate to, which is genre bending. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
because it's very hard to describe. It's
Hmm.
it's cinematic, it's epic. It's not all epic though. It's got
Right.
at moments of you know, just some soulful, a few tracks here and there,
Sure.
a solo violin here and there. But it is, it does owe some of its birthright to Celtic and Nordic and the cinematic kind of music that I like.
I
Uh,
understand.
so I don't think I could describe it in one word. If I had to say epic, that doesn't even say it, but that's the one I'd use.
Yeah. And listen, I would agree. I would fully agree and say epic. And because it's a wide-ranging word. People use that as a describer for so many different things. However, when I listened to this, I really viewed it not as song to song, but as the entire album experience.
Great.
Uh, I'm serious.
Great.
It's incredibly cohesive, and while it definitely takes jumps through emotions and drama and suspense through the instrumentation, at the same time, I judged it from beginning to end, not song to song. And I think, and I would tell everyone out there, like, this isn't the type of album that you're clicking shuffle or you're jumping around. This is
Yeah.
something that deserves for you to sit down, put on your best pair of headphones and really listen from start to finish and make your mind up towards the end.
I couldn't say that any better. And that's what I tell people,
Good.
because these days, people listen to playlists.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you have, there's not two tracks from the same person.
Oh, no, of
And
course
this
not.
is not designed for that. This is designed as a full listening experience from beginning to end. And it's harder to get that out there for people, but a lot of fans have done that, and at least
Sure.
with it being on CD, which are also sort of disappearing, at least it's available for people who do want to do that. And you can do that on Bandcamp or Spotify. Just listen to the album on Spotify or Apple,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and from start to finish,
Right.
please.
And I would also say listen to where the quality is the highest because again, such a beauty. Um,
You.
I want to ask compared to your last record, and it's not even close to your first record, but compared to the last one, what are some things that you continued to learn that you brought into this recording?
I think I get better each time, each day at
Yeah.
recognizing, part of what I do has a gift for sure. I've always appreciated that I can string two notes together, usually
Mhm.
more than two notes, that
Sure.
make up something.
Yeah.
The gift is the one thing. And then beyond that is the craft, which takes the time to make that into really something. Uh, you know, and I think I'm getting better at that and recognizing when a piece I'm working on is just not It's just not connecting, and it never will. You know,
Yeah,
that's the important part. Uh, I could work on this tomorrow and see what happens. But I have lots of fragments, files stored, but I just like start. I didn't use anything that I had before for this album.
sure.
And so I think I get better at the craft part,
Cool.
knowing when I have something that's worth pursuing. Uh, and
Right.
that happened on the last album too, which was actually Winterlude, which was a very minimal record.
Mhm.
Just my impressions of winter, maybe being in California and how much I like to see winter because I don't.
Sure. Yeah. Never.
It's like
You have to
traveling.
find winter.
It's like
You have to go
traveling
for it.
to traveling to India or somewhere
Exactly.
else that I may never get to do.
Right.
I can do that through music, at least. And I just think I'm better. I just get better every day at combining sounds and being able to tell a story through music.
Totally. I have a couple more questions for you. I
Sure.
want to know, are there any, I'm sure there are, but are there any modern day composers that you pull influence from?
Gosh, there's so many I like. I mean, I love John Williams. I
Sure.
love I love Peter Gabriel. I just love the way he puts songs together.
Yeah.
I think it's masterful. I like a lot of folk bands. I like a band from Sweden called Vasen, just three guys, and they're some of the
Okay.
best musicians I've ever heard. Um, and they were actually in town, and there was a short chance that I was going to get them on this recording, but it's just
Oh,
didn't work out time-wise.
man.
But it still sounds great. But it would have been really not just fun for me
Yeah.
personally
Oh,
as
100%. Yeah.
as a fan. It's like, wow, you guys are gonna put
Very
my
fulfilling. Yes.
But I guess I could have gone to Sweden and got them, but I was just working too much here on this
Yeah.
record. Get away. So there's a lot of influences that probably come through my own filter
Yeah.
somehow because I enjoy listening to it. I like a lot of ambient music that has some uh mood to it and
Hmm.
grainy sounds and things that are just
Yeah.
catch the ear and are interesting. And so I'm experimenting a little with that. It might be next record, who knows?
Cool. I mean, yeah, listen, you have to have a filter because otherwise people call you a direct ripoff. And if you're not, no, it's true though, because there's
It
so
is
many
true,
bands out there that are just taking the same four chord progression, putting the same song out with different words. And it's like, hey, I've heard that song before 20 years ago.
right?
And yeah, you need to have a filter. So everyone out there needs to know
Yeah. Yeah, and
that.
I have written and recorded many songs. Like somebody came up to a show at the end of a show and said they just looked me up and looked like I had 800 songs out there. And
Jesus.
so part of the challenge is not doing one of those again,
Yeah,
because
of
obviously
course.
I liked it at some point,
Sure.
but I don't want to do that again. And
Yeah.
and and because of the sounds I have at my disposal, I can go off in places that I never imagined I could, even
Yeah.
back some of those songs.
Of
So
course.
I continue to do new stuff, I believe.
Love that. My last question for you here is it's basically okay for the person that is going to discover your music from this interview. What is an opening message that you'd like to say to them before they listen through for the first time?
I just think you have to be open to having an experience, a sonic experience, and
Oh
and
yeah.
take a little journey. And you already said it very well, which put on your best pair of headphones and chill out
Yes.
for an hour, and you know, let yourself go because I think you'll be happy.
No, I fully agree. Listen, like I said when I kicked it off, is it takes you somewhere. It takes you out of your own world and it puts you somewhere else. And if you want to experience that or you haven't experienced that, like this is the record for you. I love this thing so much. David, I want to thank you so much truly for taking the time, but please let me plug this record one more time before we wrap up here. So, for everyone out there who didn't know, I'm speaking with David Arkenstone. The record is called Quest for the Runestone, and we will have the links in our articles that you can listen, share, follow along. literally just stay tuned for everything. And I know I will be, because I really like, I hadn't heard anything that you put out before this, but now I'm gonna go listen to
Oh,
the rest of it. I'm very excited. I'm serious.
that's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. Listen, thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you,
Awesome.
Austin.
All right. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Stay cool out there, and I hope to speak soon.
Have a great summer.
Yeah, you as well. All right. Talk later. Bye bye.
Bye.